Hi and welcome. This is the GDPR step-by-step guide. This is designed for small business owners. If you have data and other matters that are more complicated than something that can be covered by small business owners, then you do need to get independent GDPR consultation, which we can help you with. Just click on relevant links as you find them to get in contact with us. If you're outside of the EU and you need an EU representative, or if you're holding sensitive data, that kind of thing. So we're going to take you through step by step of really what you need to get covered. And if you like, we can also provide you with the relevant documentation. So the very first step of GDPR is knowing your data. The where, the what, the why, the how, the when. So we have a free template that you can download. The template may have more information in it than you need. Just delete as applicable and use common sense, guys. This is all what this is about. It's best business practice. The very first step in your data is where you got that data from. Where did it originate? Did it come in from your website? Is it your employee record, so you got it directly from them? Did a third party give it to you, like an agency, a recruitment partner, or a referral partner? How did it come in? By email, by phone call, referral? This is a non-exhaustive list. This is just example. So where did that data come from? So the very next bit will be, you know, where you got the data from, and then it's who is that data on? Is it on a client? Is it on a supplier? Is it someone that works for you or someone that's applying to you? Is it a prospect? Who do you hold their data on? What is the category of the group? Not the individual person, but the category in which they sit. What data are you holding on them? Are you holding on them just some personal data, their name, their email address and phone number? If it's employees or suppliers, are you holding their bank details or PAYE details? So what is the data that you're holding? There's a little caveat here, which is if you're holding sensitive data such as religious or political views, sexual orientation, ethnic origins, or data on children or criminal convictions, that's classed as sensitive data, and you need to come back to me on what you need to be doing in respect of that. As I say, this is specifically for small business owners, so you might need to dive deeper. Very happy to have a free phone call with you if you need to get some stuff covered off. So that's the where did you get it, what do you have, why do you have it? Do you have it for marketing reasons, to keep people up to date with the industry or to follow up on their inquiries? Do you have it in your payroll or HR reasons, or do you have it for accounting reasons? Again, this is a non-exhaustive list. You may have other reasons why you are holding that data. Then it's a question of where are you holding it? What is the location? So you might go, well, I'm in the UK, I'm in the EU, therefore I'm holding it in the EU. That may not be the case. The software in which you're holding it, like a Dropbox or a Google Drive or OneDrive or an Infusionsoft or MailChimp or a Xero, they don't have their servers in the EEA. So where are you keeping it? What's the software you're keeping it, or where are the servers on which it's being held physically, or as much as physically as virtual data can be? So mostly you will find, if you just Google the name of the person, the software and GDPR, you will find that they are more than likely, they have an adequate safeguard, which is behind the EU-US Privacy Shield. So you're absolutely covered. It's totally adequate. Processing of data, who else has got access to it? Do you have subcontractors or teachers that you're passing it out to, or employees that have it? Do you have other consultants coming in, like your accountant, HR consultant or IT consultant, that may have access to your data? If that's the case, then you are going to need a processor agreement with them, because they've got access to your data that's been entrusted to you. So where is the data being held physically, and who has access to it? And obviously you need to make sure too that the access to it is adequately secure. You haven't got post-it notes with passwords on it, that laptops are encrypted, all sorts of things just to protect it. You've got adequate protection of that data. Then it's retention. How long are you keeping it for? There's going to be laws that say that you have to keep VAT records for 7 years, or that you've given a guarantee for works, things like that. So how long are you keeping it for? Rule of thumb, don't keep data longer than necessary. If someone's not engaging with your marketing, get them out your database. And then the justification. Why do you have it? Is there a legal requirement? Is there a legitimate interest because somebody you're following up with a query, or it's pursuant to contract? Has somebody consented to it? that kind of thing. So you have a table, whether you use the spreadsheet that we give you or you create your own with the basics of the why, the what, the where, the who, the how long, and all the rest of it as per this, then you are covered. You've got your data map, which is the first step that you need to moving forward with the rest of the documentation and knowing what you need to fill in. That is step one. So step two of GDPR compliance would be your privacy policy. The privacy policy needs to be available at the point at which you're collecting the data. So if you're collecting it via your website, then you need to have it available as a link on your website. So if you're doing web forms and contact forms and such, be a good idea maybe to link back to it from your email footer. Hard copy, if you're collecting stuff in paper format, then have your privacy policy on the back or in the footer of that document. So what is the privacy policy? Well, you'll see that a lot of the stuff that we already covered off in the data map is what's being used here to complete the legal document. I'll just switch screens and you can see here that the legal document will look something like this, depending on whether you get it from us or whether you get it from someone else, where there'll be elements that you simply drop in the information that you have been collecting. So the information would be what data you're collecting, who you're collecting it on, how you're collecting it via web forms or telephone, how you're using it, is it to perform a contract or legal obligation or for marketing purposes, is what you're using it for, all of this in the document that we collected the information in earlier. What's the legal basis for that? Is it legitimate interest? Is it consent? Where you're keeping it? What software or other servers in the UK? How long? What's the retention period? What people's access is to it, which is known as the subject's access request, and their rights to delete it or amend it, and what the contact details are for making that request. And you might have something to do with your cookies in this document as well, or you might have a separate policy for that too. So what's next is you would then make that privacy policy available. You'll put it on your website, have a nice link that you can put in your email footer so that people can see how transparent you are. You'll send it out to your customers, past, present, future, circulate it to employees and third-party suppliers, anyone whose data you're holding basically, that it is relevant to. And you can also advise your clients and suppliers that you're compliant and use this process as a marketing tool. So that's step two, that's your privacy policy, what's in it, completing it, and we can obviously provide you with the documentation for you to complete with a full walkthrough video if you like as well. So once there's a couple of other policies that we'll provide as well that you might want to consider, which is a cookie policy and a website use policy, if they're relevant to you. Step four, a data person. You don't necessarily need a data protection officer, a DPO, but you do need to have someone that is at least the data protection manager, that is the point of contact within your organisation for the data matters. Step five, train your staff. Make sure that they know where the documents are, how to respond to any queries, communicate with them. That's what's key, is that they understand it. You'll probably need an HR consultant to update your employee handbook and your employee privacy notice, which is the internal document, so that they agree that it is the company's data and that they don't have a breach of that data. If you have a breach of data, you will need to have a record of it and make sure that anyone whose data has been breached gets notified. So your employees need to have the notice signed, which your HR consultant can do. We've also got one in our document pack, and we can also and they need to be trained in understanding actually what that privacy notice means. You need to speak to any third-party processors who have access to your data, people like your accountant, HR consultant, might be your web designer, and make sure that they complete the due diligence letter, that they are processing your data under your terms. And again, we have a due diligence document in our document pack. Marketing consent. Make sure you have consent to send people marketing information. If you do, job done. You do not need to refresh consent. If somebody has already consented to your marketing, job done. You don't need to spam them asking them to re-consent. If you don't have consent, then get it. Are you covered under legitimate interest? There's a 3-step rule here, is are you pursuing the legitimate interest Is the processing of that data necessary under the legitimate interest, and do the interests of the individual override the legitimate interest? If someone's inquired into your services, you can let them know about your services under legitimate interest. So marketing and consent, that's it. Step 7, data security. Are the systems and the access to them secure? Passwords, generic passwords, passwords that everyone in the office is using and knows it, passwords on post-it notes. Is your laptop secure? And have you got any hard copy documents with people's data lying around? Phone numbers, email addresses, names, whatever, dates of birth, credit card numbers, all of that. Have you got those lying around on passenger seats in cars, or in diaries, or on little bits of paper on your desk? Are documents, actual relevant documents that have people's details in it, kept securely? And if you don't need them, are they being shredded securely as well? That's about it. GDPR really is just common sense and the documents to back it up. Make sure that you understand it for your company or yourself, and the individual's rights to access it and update it, that you're processing it transparently and lawfully, that you're only collecting it for a specified, legitimate, explicit purpose, that it's adequate and only limited to the purpose that you're collecting it for and processing it for, that it's kept up to date. Put a review in every year for your data map. Don't keep it longer than you need to, and only process it in a manner that ensures that it's secure and that no one else can get hold of it, destroy it, leak it, or anything else. It's been entrusted to you. We can help you with independent consultancy. We've got GDPR lawyers, HR consultants, IT consultants, anyone, any area of your business that you need help. We can deliver you the documents for you to complete yourself, some with video walkthroughs. We can sit down and go through it with you. You let us know what you need. Let us know if you've got any questions.